afternoon and welcome to another edition of Sunspots. I'm your host, Evan Cooke. As always, joined by head coach Ben Macauley, fresh off a big win over the weekend, 24-10 against the Langley Rams here at the Apple Bowl. Coach, let's start with a big win on Sunday afternoon. Kind of an interesting game, a pretty exciting one at points. What were your thoughts coming out of that victory?
Well, I took a lot of positives from that game. You know, there were plenty of things to be upset about and unsatisfied, and that stuff we'll use going forward. But, you know, we were able to establish the run game. We felt like we needed to go into that game in an attack mode offensively, and I think to a degree we did that. Our pass game wasn't where we wanted it to be, but more than anything, we've got our run game on board. So having those guys, you know, up front make big plays, creating some good-sized holes, and you know, driving the ball down the field is something that we can really hang our hat on going forward into the, you know, inclement weather, and in the playoffs it can be a bit volatile weather-wise. So we need to be able to run the football, and I think we did a good job of that.
Yeah, the run game obviously a huge part of the win. Over 300 yards on the ground you finished with, and it was interesting to watch some of the kind of different plays that you incorporated in as well. There were some more option plays with the quarterback that we haven't seen. We've seen at times this season, but maybe not to the volume that we saw on Sunday. What had you and your staff noticed about Langley going in where you thought that those types of plays might be more effective against them?
Well, it wasn't so much what we noticed about Langley, it's what we noticed about ourselves. You know, we kind of said after last game against Kamloops, we said let's get really good at doing what we do well. Let's let our strengths be our strengths and really focus on those. So we spent the time in practice repping out our strengths and making sure that those are something we can rely on. And then, you know, we have to give that some honor when we go into our play calling. You know, the other part of it was that we couldn't get things done through the air. You know, Langley did a good job for the most part, but we were missing wide open receivers and putting balls on the ground when they should be in the hands. And so when we can't do that, we're going to have to move into to things that we consider our bread and butter, and running the football, being dynamic in the backfield. Nick Wenman did a great job of pulling at times, pulling the ball and keeping it himself. So, you know, those are all things that we'd like to do and we want to do going forward.
Yeah, as far as the struggles through the air went, how do you assess on the sideline and as coaches when to try and keep going back to plays that you know you can do but just aren't executing on, or when do you say, look, it's just not working today, let's go to something different now?
Sometimes we hang on a little bit too long. You know, we see something there and we want to make it happen, and as coaches, you know, we can all but get out there on the field and do it ourselves. So if that's the case, we've got to look at ourselves, and either we're not teaching it properly or they're not seeing what we're seeing from the sideline. So that's something that we can correct in film, in practice. The time to do that is not during the game. You know, minor adjustments can happen, but we're not going to overhaul anything. So, you know, that's about being flexible and adapting as a coach. And you know, teams are different than the first time we've played them, and we're going to have to potentially play the Rams again. So, you know, we've got to be able to adapt and adjust, and, you know, maybe next time the run game won't be working as well and we'll have to go to the air, and that's something we have to be ready for.
Penalties were also a big part of this game. More penalty yards handed out to you guys than passing yards by the end of the game. What did you see on that side of things and how that got to that point?
Yeah, I have to be really careful not to be critical of the referees, because, you know, they're doing the best they can. You know, I did at the time feel like it was a little bit one-sided, and was able to watch film and confirm some of that, and, you know, also take responsibility for a lot of that stuff that shouldn't be happening. And, you know, some things are out of frustration, some things are out of discipline. I felt we've done a pretty good job of being disciplined this year, and we've improved, and this game didn't exactly reflect that, and that's not something that we want to hang our hat on or that we're proud of, is taking penalties, because we know we eliminate those and we have a much better football game and leave a couple more scores on the board. So, you know, the score wouldn't have been quite as close as it was had we not shot ourselves in the foot. So that's something that, you know, going forward, I think the guys understand that we can't play with a handicap.
Yeah, because it must be tough as coaches and also too as players on the sideline to manage the emotions of when that's going on, to be able to get a cooler head and maybe not take some of those penalties out of frustration? Because especially looking forward to the playoffs as you guys are now after next week's game, that's got to be a big thing to focus on.
Yeah, and if you can't control yourself, we can't expect our team to be in control when we need them the most. And that starts with the coaches. If the coaches are in control, we can let that trickle down to our players, and in general, we'll be a disciplined team that doesn't make many mistakes and doesn't hand out free yards to the other team.
July 29th was a long time ago. That's the last time that the West Shore Rebels faced your group. You talk about how teams have changed over the last few weeks. It's going to be a different team that you're going to be playing next week in Victoria than you saw week 1 here in Kelowna.
Yeah, I think it's literally a different team. Half their roster looks different than when they started, and that's just an attest to constantly want to make your program better. And I understand that we've got some changes too. I'm a little bit different in the mindset that I want fewer changes, and I want to take the guys we have and improve them and develop them long term. But that's just another approach to take, which is adding guys for the short term. So, I think they're going to be some dynamic, talented players, and we're going to have to be on our best assignment football. And that's something we've shown we're capable of, and I love the fact that it's different guys every week who are stepping up and making the plays.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about that changing personnel, and does that even make it a little bit tougher to prepare for them when there's so many different faces versus the last time you saw them?
In a sense, yes, and because you've got to spend the time to honor the things that they've put on film and out of their playbook. At the other side of it is the more different they do, the more we just need to be focused on ourselves, and that's really our motto the whole year. Worry about ourselves, we take care of our job, and it doesn't really matter who we're playing or what they're doing.
Welcome back here to Sunspots. Pleased to be joined on the show by running back of the Okanagan Sun, Robbie Rodrigues, fresh off a pretty big performance that you guys had there on Sunday. Talked with Coach here about really the success of the running game, and it was the most successful game that you guys have had as a group of running backs to date with the 300-yard plus performance on Sunday. But you carried the bulk of that load, really. Were you prepared going into the game for getting as many carries as you did on Sunday?
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like I've been prepared this whole year. It's more of a thing of there's a lot of young guys, a lot of young running backs on this team, and I feel like the coaching staff feels that they need to get them game experience earlier in the season. And now that we're getting closer to playoffs, like it's time for our main running back core to take big strides, help us win a championship.
Yeah, because it's kind of an interesting mix at back this season, and there are a good group of veterans that you're a part of with Brendan Hansen and Kelton Curry. What's it like kind of working with them and some of the younger guys to come together as a group?
It's great. Like we're all different backs, right? Hansen's a big guy. He's got that power game. I'm more of like the balance in between Curry and Hansen, I'd say, and then Curry's all about that finesse, the open field running. So I think the three of us together, plus all the other young guys, we have a pretty strong running core.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting to watch different guys and their different styles like you talk about, right? Because for you, for example, you have a very calming presence out there where you're a guy that's going to get the ball, but you're not going to panic. You're not going to run aimlessly. You're going to read the lanes opening up in front of you. You're going to read the defense, and then you're going to make your moves and make your cuts. How do you learn that? How do you learn that style? Or is that just something that kind of always came to you playing the game?
Honestly, yeah, I think that just came to me. I was watching some old film from when I first started playing football, and I was like, wow, this shows really what kind of running back I am. Just see the hole, slowly hit it, and yeah, I don't know. I just do what I feel, I'm more of a, I'd say, a feel back. I don't know, I feel, I go where I feel is right.
Yeah, you kind of let the game come to you.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just how I am. I'm a calm person, and It's just, I guess it fits my personality, my run game. So.
And in the game on Sunday, there were kind of some fun plays to watch for sure. You got up in the air and hurdled a couple of times there. When in that play do you decide this is what I'm going to do as the defender's trying to chase you down? What's the timing of that decision process?
Timing of it? Oh, well, I know I had one on that option, and there was quite a bit of open field. I saw the corner and the safety, and the half was over on the other side because we were in a brunch, like a 4-to-1. And then I saw the safety come down, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna jump over him. Like, I don't know, like honestly, it just came to me. I gotta say, shout out to Air Raid because they got me ready to make one of those plays. So, for BPC, Air Raid.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one to watch. And as we were reflecting on the game yesterday too, I mean, your quarterback Nick Wenman obviously came away with the 3 touchdowns in that one, but you're also a big part of that because all 3 of those plays, they were fake handoff plays to you. What's it like trying to sell the handoff to the defense in that play where you got to try and convince them that you got the ball?
Well, honestly, I'm just running it like I have the ball every time. And sometimes Nick will tell me that he's going to pull it, sometimes he won't. But rather not talk about that. Keep that on the low key, just in case other teams are watching, you know.
Well, the one I did want to ask about that we can talk about just because it's looking back was that 3rd touchdown. We were wondering, was that a play where you thought you were getting the ball and the handoff was missed, or were you thinking that he was going to keep it the whole way there?
I don't even remember. I was just really tired just running. I think I was probably like 180 yards deep by that time, so I was like just going with the flow. And I don't know, I think I ran it. It was an outside zone play, and I ran it, and yeah, he just pulled it. And then I remember just seeing people cheer, and I asked one of my players, I was like, did he score? And then someone was just like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, go off, get some water.
Yeah, sounds good. And for you guys coming into the playoffs too, that's obviously upcoming, but a big game on the weekend here against the West Shore Rebels. Obviously a team that's been a while since you played them, but what are some of your thoughts going into this game? There's all the storylines, of course, with being a battle for first place, lots of things to think about there. But really when it comes down to it, both these teams are going to the playoffs as well. So how much importance do you guys put in this game?
Well, obviously we'd love to have home field advantage, like playing West Shore in Kelowna instead of playing in Victoria, you know, skip that trip. But I don't know, I think we're ready to take them on wherever. You know, all we gotta do is focus on ourselves like we have this whole year. And I know they got some studs, we got some studs too, and it's gonna be a really good game. And I think we'll see the best out of a lot of our players in that game.
And final thought here, just on the playoffs coming up. Do you feel that you guys as an offense are starting to click at the right time here heading into the postseason?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, it would be nice to have like a solid, for, you know, like our quarterbacks and situation with Nick and Keith. But I think we're all, like, our whole offense is comfortable with whoever's in at any time. So, and we all know that everyone's going to do their job to like the best potential. So I don't know, I'm not worried about anyone who's in, and I'm sure everyone else isn't.
Well, the big game against West Shore is coming up on Saturday night. You can catch that game as always on BCFC TV, and then the Sun will be back here in Kelowna for the first playoff game a week after that. Thanks for watching.